So today's webinar is about how teams can generate accurate, personalized gift receipts directly in Salesforce without the usual hassle, manual work, and tool switching. So for those of you who don't know anything about Apsona, we help Salesforce users save hours of time every week by simplifying reporting, document creation, email merging, data cleanup, and it's all 100% native to Salesforce. Teams choose Apsona because it's an all-in-one toolkit that works directly inside Salesforce, requires no middleware or extra logins, and it's designed for really both admins and end users. As one of those former users myself, I was once a customer. I was a client of Apsona's for many years. I can honestly say this was my go-to tool for everything. We're also very proud of our App Exchange reviews, 250 of them with an average rating of 4.89 out of 5, although I'd like to know who isn't giving us a 5 and why. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, we will talk about the challenges you're typically faced with when creating gift receipts. Then we will look at what an efficient Salesforce native process should look like. And then we'll talk about exactly how Apsona feeds into that process. And then I will show you a live walkthrough with real examples. And then finally, we're going to wrap up and discuss some takeaways and next steps. So let's start with the reality that many Salesforce teams are dealing with today. Creating gift receipts often sounds like it should be simple, but in practice, it involves a lot of manual steps and workarounds that quickly add up time-wise. One of the most common pain points is if you're using the I shouldn't say old, because I know it's still a very commonly used method. You're exporting data to Excel and then using that as your data source in a Word merge. Often multiple hours are spent for each export session, sometimes 3 to 8 hours, just pulling the data out of Salesforce so that it can be worked on elsewhere. Once the data is exported, there's probably some cleanup, some reformatting, maybe some inconsistent data that needs to be addressed. This is even more time adding to that. Then comes the document creation step itself. When done manually, complex gift receipt preparation, the formatting, the merging, the reviewing, the updating, that's even more time. It's adding up here. And throughout this entire process, teams are constantly switching between tools. You're in Salesforce, you're in Excel, you're in Word, then you're in an email tool. So that switching alone is there's even more time. So this is where Apsona changes the game. With Apsona, setting up a document merge template takes like just a few minutes compared to the many manual steps typically required. And then depending on your volume of data, executing that merge action may complete in just a matter of seconds. And you're never even leaving Salesforce. So when you look at the numbers, the difference is pretty significant. So I think these estimates were probably AI generated, but I actually did a test. I exported data to Excel from Salesforce, which then, of course, took some manipulation to get the data consistent, then used that spreadsheet as my data source in a Word mail merge, which also took a few tries to get exactly the right exactly the right data, and then had to spend some time manually fixing some layout problems. Overall, I can't say that this took 3 to 6 hours, maybe 1 or 2, but I also had a very small data set in my test. Alternatively, generating the receipts in Apsona also took less time, literally only a few seconds. So in Apsona, there's basically 3 components to generating really any merged document, and they all reside, they're all managed in Apsona. First, there's the data source. This is typically a report. Then there's your template, which can either be a Word doc or a Google Doc. And just a side note on the template, in Word, these are just regular Word merge fields. There's not any special formatting or coding that you need to do to make the fields recognizable as merge fields in Apsona. So if you're using a Word template now, you can probably just use the same template in Apsona. Then the third component to any merge solution is the merge action. And this is where the data source and the template are kind of melded together, where you're configuring how to map the fields from your report to your template. So now that we've kind of covered the basics, let's jump in and see what this looks like in Apsona. And actually, let me check in. Brooks, any questions in the chat yet?
Yes, there is. I was just responding to
Ooh,
Laura. Hey, we have three tiers for the pricing, and I'll be happy to discuss those in detail. I'll make sure to follow up with you after this webinar. And we have a 20% discount that I think will meet some of your needs with that NPSP account you've got. But that's the only one
awesome.
so far.
Thanks, Bruce.
You got it.
Bruce. Thanks, Brooks.
Two first names, two last names.
So, and I should have asked this earlier. I assume you're all seeing my screen, right? You're seeing me in Apsona now. Thumbs up from anyone from thank you, whoever that was. So again, I did ask the question earlier about your familiarity with Apsona. I don't want to go into great detail about the basics because it sounds like most of you have at least some exposure to Apsona. But where we are right now is I've accessed Apsona through the Apsona tab, like you typically would. Then I'm now in the Apsona environment where I see another series of tabs. I won't get into the details of that. We'll save that for another webinar. But from the reporting tools menu, I've selected multi-step reports where I have a whole bunch of reports already created, including one to create my gift acknowledgements. I'm just going to run this report. If we have time, we can get into the amazing features of multi-step reports, but that's really for another time. You'll just have to trust at this point that I have created an awesome report that pulls all the donors who need to receive a gift acknowledgement. So I've run the report. To create the acknowledgements, if I wanted to create just a letter, I'm clicking this merge mail button. I'm going to choose to run an existing merge action. I've got a whole bunch. We're going to just run the letters so we can see those. And then I click run. After a few seconds, literally, it finished before I even completed that sentence. I don't know if you noticed that. I click download results and you can see my letter has popped up here. Of course, it's opening in the wrong screen. Oh, it's opening very large for some reason. Well, I'm not sure what's going on there. So here are the merged documents that I created. So let's see how that was done.
As you're pulling that up, Lori, I got a
Sure.
question from Alyssa. What if your receiving templates have multiple segments? Can Apsona handle that?
Ooh, do you mean if there's sections where, depending on the type of gift, there's different information that you need to show? Is that like if it's a
Alyssa, what do
stock
you think?
gift?
Is that you?
Sorry. Oh, you know what? I think I can allow you to talk. That was a Jessica.
Alyssa,
Oh, Alyssa. I don't
Elissa
know your name.
Romano.
Alyssa, allow to talk.
Hey,
Go ahead,
Alyssa.
Alyssa.
Hi. My question was just if you have different types of letters, let's say for different, if you make a gift to a certain type of fund, it would get certain verbiage, and
Ah,
you have different segments and different letters for different funds. How would that work when you're creating a letter or a receipt?
Alyssa, I love this question, and it's as if you had a copy of my script, which I don't actually have a script, but I'm totally going to answer that question in like less than a minute. So hold that thought. So here I am. I'm back in. So we talked about how there's three components, right? There's the data source. That's this report that you see behind the merge action dialog. Then there's also the template, which let me bring that up. I think this is the one. Oh, where? Hold on. Sorry. Bear with me. So this is the template for that report again, or for that merge action. It's, like I said before, it's a standard Word document with regular word merge fields. So this is what the template looks like. And I'll also show you how you can manage those templates right within Apsona as well. For now, also let me just kind of point out here, there's a bunch of different types of merge actions that can be created. There's a document, that's what we just saw, address labels that can also be used for any kind of like directory or like a catalog style output, name tags, that sort of thing, a spreadsheet, an email with a document attached, or an email with a spreadsheet attached. I'm going to show you one that is an email with a document attached. I'm going to edit. This will take us through the same steps that are needed to set up a merge action initially. So the first thing I do, Alyssa, this is for you, I'm selecting my default template. If I have a different template based on whatever criteria, it could be the constituency of the donor, it could be the designation of the gift, it could be a combination of things that you build a calculated field with some logic that says, well, if the donor is on our board of trustees, use this letter. If the donor is on our board and something else, like you can include a lot of like logic there. So here is where, based on a conditional field, if that value is something different, you use a different template. So that's one way that you could handle that. Also, if it's just a matter of you want to include a custom, like maybe one of the sentences, one paragraph is different. Notice I've got in the middle of this paragraph a word, a merge field labeled blurb. That blurb is actually mapped to a field in my report that has some logic in it that says if they've made a gift to whatever, some designation, then include this additional sentence. If not, it'll be blank. So the next step, I'm now mapping the fields from my template to the fields from my report. I click next again, and here's where I have a whole bunch of great options. I'm creating a task associated with the donor's account that indicates that we sent a gift acknowledgement. I'm also attaching a copy of the file that is generated that is being emailed. I'm also updating some fields, in this case, the acknowledgement date and status to indicate that the gift was, in fact, acknowledged. I'm also saving a copy of the email that I'm sending in the activity history for the donor's account. So when I click save and run for all 76 of these donors, I'm sending an email. Attached to that email is the acknowledgement letter that we just saw. That same file is getting attached to the files related list for the donor. I'm creating a task that says that we sent an email on that day or sent a gift acknowledgement, and the email is saved in activity history for the donor. Whew, sorry, that's a lot of words.
Lori, that was. Thank you so much for walking through that. I got another question from Megan while you're pulling that up. Are you
Sure.
able to run a mail merge that off from a report that has like a visualization? I think she means perhaps like a dashboard or things like that that could be included.
Oh, it could be, or like if you've got summarized information from a visualization, not currently, but I do love that idea. And I think what you probably need is here's something to keep in mind. Let me see, do I still have that open? I do. So if we look here at the very first, or actually this one too, some of these gifts have multiple designations, which in the world of Salesforce, no matter which data model you're on, whether it's NPC, NPSP, Education Cloud, AffiniQuest, Ascend, all of them, you know that this means there are multiple records. It's not all just one gift record. These are multiples. So in Apsona, when we're pulling this report, I don't want to pull all that detail because that would duplicate my donor. If this gift from, who was it? Don Dirth? I don't know, fake names. If where I find, oh, I don't know if you guys know about this feature too, where you can find all of that. If I had included that detail in my report, I would see this household repeated 3 times. That's not what I want. But in the merge action, what I can do, the way that I get around that in the template, notice there's this table start and table end tag. That's what indicates to Apsona that this information, there's going to be multiples and it's going to come from another source. So when I get to that step where I'm mapping, notice it has actually kind of got this in its own little section so that it knows, like, for these 76 records in this other report, there might be more than one. So it might be that you're needing to create a visualization to summarize. Um, that might be the case. If
Cool.
not,
Thank you so much, Lori.
sure.
And Michael had tagged onto that. I think this question got answered, but Michael, let me know in the chat if not. But yes to your question about it could be the report or it could be the tabular view. And then Marianne also wanted to know, can you
That's right.
list multiple designations within one letter, Lori?
And I think I just answered that.
Oh, you did. Shoot. And Marianne just let me know.
Nope, that's okay.
Noriko,
I know you're paying attention to the chat, not to me, which is what you should be doing. So thank you.
I, I know. And I've got one more from Noriko. Can we also set up multiple email bodies like general donation email body, general receipt, a campaign email body, and a campaign receipt?
Yeah, I think you might, what I think that equates to is just having different templates. The other possibility is within the template itself, you can have sections that are showing or hidden based on different criteria from your report. Um, I personally like the little blurb method if it's just the matter of a sentence or a paragraph needs to be different based on different criteria, because then when I'm running the report, I actually see the evaluation of that field. But notice here, I've got kind of two sections here. There's this designation section and a designation with tribute information. Because if your gift has a tribute, like, I don't want these extra columns to show when there isn't a tribute. So using the conditional capabilities within Word, if this table has any values, then show it. If not, do nothing. If this table has a value, show it. If not, do nothing. So there's a few different ways to handle those different types of conditions. Um, and I can show you an example of that. That I think is a different one. I'll run that merge action. I should also mention, just because I just saw the example, we also, although I've been showing you output to Word, you can also output to PDF as well. Let me see. Oh, yeah. So here's one. This first one has a tribute. So we see the extra columns for the tribute information. But then the very next one, it's a completely different template. Those columns are just not there. So that's another way of kind of handling sections of the template that you want to show or not show.
Thank you very much, Lori. I think the last one
Sure.
I've got is Megan's asking about using calculated fields to populate the template with different text based on info from the opportunity.
I love this question because I love calculated fields. So that is exactly what I've done in this report. Notice I've pulled in a step to identify if a gift has been made, if one of the designations of a gift or multiple gifts within the time frame that I'm pulling has been given to athletics, then I've got this extra couple of sentences. So it's basically saying if there is an athletics gift, then give me this sentence, and if not, nothing. And over in my template, let's see if I can pull up this one, I've got that blurb right here that will add that extra couple of sentences if it's there, and if not, it'll just be blank. So I wanted to also show you how easy it is to manage templates in Apsona. So again, still in Apsona, I'm now looking at the documents object, which is Salesforce documents. This is not like a separate store of documents in Apsona. These are Salesforce documents. So if I needed to make a change to an existing template, I could just click this download button, make whatever changes I needed to my template, save it, and then just click this replace button. It's going to prompt me to choose a file, and voila, I've overwritten the template that was there. If I needed to add a whole new template, I can just click this upload button and grab the file. Similarly, my email templates are even easier. So if I go to the gift act, let me search for that, loving the inline filtering. If I needed to make a change to my gift acknowledgement email template, I can just simply click this edit template. And again, these are Salesforce email templates. So not a separate, it's not separate. It's the same thing. So you can either edit them here or, outside of Apsona, however you would usually edit email templates. You can do it either way. Typically, would do it here because I'm probably already in Apsona. The other thing I wanted to show you was simply that everything I've done so far has been in Apsona, but I don't necessarily need to be in Apsona to run these merges. There's a couple different ways I can do this. And if you're not fully aware of this, Apsona stuff can be embedded in regular Salesforce pages, meaning what we're looking at right now, this is just a regular Salesforce homepage. It's not an Apsona page. This section right here is just a rich text component, and this link is a link to an Apsona report. So I click on the link, it's running that same report that we just looked at, and notice one of the things I love about accessing a report through a link is that notice it strips off all the like Salesforce and Apsona stuff. It opens in a new tab. It just gives you a little more space to work with, to work with the data. And then I have all the same options. I can launch into that merge action from here, or even easier, I can skip over the step of running the report and clicking the merge button. Not that that was so many steps, but I could also just create a button that simply runs the merge action. Clicking this proceed is the equivalent of selecting merge action, clicking run an existing, selecting the merge action, and then clicking run. That all can happen through this button.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay,
I've got a couple more questions coming your way. Is
sure.
there a way to track the version history of the letter templates?
The way I typically do that, honestly, is I instead of overriding, oh, I actually closed out of that tab, didn't I? Let me go back to documents. Instead of using that replace option, I might, when I save this file, name it gift acknowledgement V2, and then add it as a new, use upload instead of replace, because in my merge action, let me just show you how easy this is. I can really easily, I don't know if you can see the drop down, sometimes it doesn't show those. I can easily just select the new template. And when I do, let's see, I don't know if any of these are like the same. When I get to that next step of mapping, as long as the fields are the same, this one, obviously I chose poorly because they're not, but notice it did map some of the fields. It did keep the mapping for this one that had the same name. So it should keep, as long as you have the merge fields named the same, it should, it will keep your mapping when you change templates.
Nice. I like that. That's like a pro tip from power user days, I
Mhm.
imagine. What about, I think we might touch on this with visualization. With the Excel merge, are you able to put export out images with that template as well?
Yes, I don't know if you can in Excel. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to in Excel, but yes, in fact, all right, we're a little off topic here, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, since there's been so many great questions. This is a different type of merge action. It's a contact profile. Um, so when it runs, this is actually pulling in, all sorts of information about a contact. You're probably all familiar with creating profile type reports. So this one will actually include Violet's image, which that's obviously not really what she looks like. That's Appy. I'm sure you guys already know who Appy is.
Perfect. And then David, I'm so sorry. I just realized I missed one of yours a minute ago. He had more of a complicated question about some exceptions about calling out receipts. He's got some criteria like amount, for example, like a receipt more than 10K. Is there a way to have like additional review or approval before sending, like to flag them, for example, or are they just going to all be sent out in bulk?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Do I still have that? Why? I've lost the report now. Let me go back over here and run any of these. So what you can do, a couple different ways you can handle that. For one, you could, if needed, have different reports with different filter terms that like if you have different reports that have different amounts, and they get like just are handled totally differently. I know that's in my experience how we did it. There was maybe two or three versions, ones that needed to go to like the president of the organization, one of them that needed to go, that could just automatically get emailed out, didn't need any approval. The other thing you could do is in the merge action, there's this option to run the letters, but instead of doing all the things like don't send the email or send all of the emails to a specific person, and ignore all the logging settings so you're not like saving the file and doing all the things until someone has reviewed them. That is a way that I would handle that.
Fantastic. And then when you just did that last example of, where we went just a little bit off topic, I think Morgan was curious about the acknowledgement letter button. How do you know which letter template to run that through? Is that something that's been configured on the back end that we just didn't pull up since we went off topic?
It is. So, yeah, when you run those, oh, I'm losing everything here. So when you run any of these, once it's completed, it does tell you the name of the report, and the name of the merge action, but it's basically, it's set when you set up that button, you're copying a code from Apsona to create the button. So you as the kind of like the admin, would know where that's coming from, but it does give you that information on the button too.
Sounds good. And I think that answered your question too, Priscilla, about where do you set in the Apsona report to run that receipt only on the gift? Let me know if not, but I think you just covered that there as well. We're getting
Awesome.
coming up on time, Lori. I know you've got a couple more things to go through real quick.
Yeah, really just I know just kind of give you some like best practices. I know Aaliyah will be following up with everyone with through email. But just some best practices, really give some thought. I think you guys, it sounds to me like you guys are already thinking about, making sure your reports or tabular views are filtered, take advantage of the Apsona's complex filtering capabilities. Document templates. You don't necessarily need to have multiple document templates. You take advantage of using calculated fields for custom blurbs, I'll call them, or custom sentences. And then the leverage merge action buttons, that gives users an easy and consistent experience for producing documents.
Great. I've got another one from your power user days. Madeline was curious about mail merge actions running off of different opportunity filtered lists. It's been working well, but are there any reasons to run that merge action from the Apsona reporting tool instead, or is it better left right off of like the opportunity filtered list?
No, you know what? There's the only advantage of using a report is that if you need to include um, like tertiarily, is that a word? Related objects, meaning like you've got the opportunity, maybe depending on your data model, you've got the GAU allocation or you've got the account, and like, do you need to include something related to the contact or something like further down the line that you can't get to from the opportunity list? Then I would say a report would kind of handle that for you, but if that's not what you need, then no, there's no advantage of using a report.
Good, good. And then Mason, is the generated receipt directly linked with a receipt number to the SF donor profile, a way that it's kind of linked back like a unique ID or anything like that?
You would just pull, if you are using like the receipting object, then you would just pull that receipt number into the printed document as like a merge field.
Cool, cool, cool. Can you see any of these letters in the contacts or other objects in Salesforce?
Yes. Oh, do I still have Violet? Let's see if she is one. Oh, no, wait, we got to go to her account. Let's see. Hopefully she's one that we've run this for before. Oh, why is this like not? What's happening? Do I have too much stuff open? Is it mad? Oh, here it comes. Or not. And why is that not opening? You guys aren't seeing it, right? I'm not. Let's try this again.
No, you're right. I wasn't seeing it either.
It's like nothing's happening. Like as if the account page just doesn't exist at all. What is happening? I guess it's like, sorry, Lori, the webinar is over. Huh. Well, I wanted to show you that what you would see is on the files related list, that document that was generated would be one of the records that you'd see there. That's really weird. Why is that not? Why? Let's try a different contact. Let's try Alex Trebek. Nope.
And while you're doing that, Joseph, we don't have like a specific e-sign or e-signature platform that we work with, but any of those that integrate with Salesforce, like I know DocuSign, for example, that you asked about is on the App Exchange. Yes, we can work with that as well.
That the weirdest thing that that's not coming up. Well, I know we're over time. I appreciate everyone staying on a couple extra minutes. And like I said, Aaliyah will be following up. If you have any other questions, feel free to respond to that message or reach out to me or to Brooks directly. Thanks,
Yes, thank you.
everyone.
Thank you so much, Lori, and thank you, everyone. We'll be in touch soon.